Well, what can we say? I really had to give it to them. 2 chapters in 1 week. Have I ever told you that Hiro Mashima is an amazing mangaka to be able to do that? It's even lampshaded inside his manga that he gave us 2. Everyone else just succumbed to sickness, but he can give us 2. Now, if that is not amazing, I don't know what is. Please, God, don't let him get drowned into any conspiracy or controversy or whatever. If you exist, then make sure that happens. I mean, that it does not happen. Do you mean what I mean? That it doesn't happen. All right, everybody, it's me, the Angry Anime Fan, the Despair Reviewer, and yes, this is the... Even though I technically only review Eden Zero. And yes, this is the Eden Zero chapters 137 and 138. We're actually getting 2. Granted, the story didn't really move in 37, so I guess it makes sense for them to give us 2. So what happens? Well, we're going through 37 first. First off, a cover page with Shiki and 3 of the Star Shrine Maidens. Looks kind of beautiful. First of all, it's Xiao Mei appearing. Actually, once again, narrating things. I guess things got into the narration stage, where she tells everything, including the fact that Shura is declaring war on Siggy by shutting down the machines, the Rebel Alliance, and the fact that we're gonna get a battle. She's also lampshading that we're going to get 2 chapters this time. Either way, the Rebel Army has rounded up some Saudi Arabian-looking robots, and they're sadistically says that they're going to die. But also saying that, but also noticing that the robots are not so panicking, unlike everything else, suggests actually that no one knew that Oasis actually is in Sandra. But it actually turns out that everyone who lives in Sandra knows that Oasis is there, because Oasis is a special planet, as Laguna said last time. Well, what is that? Well, we'll see. First off, though, the Oasis charges in as they shoots against everyone else, and our friends joins in the alliance too, showing remarkable skill and remarkable fighting things. But it's also even Wise shows some pretty amazing things here. Now his Machina Maker can actually... He can always manipulate machines, but this time he can even do it in a long distance. Well, not exactly long distance, but what I mean is he just touches some kind of machine, and by connecting, and then just uses the wires to lead it down to a ground, ergo, and then creating a roadblock in it all. So he's actually getting pretty versatile with that machina making. But then it turns out that there's a kid driving that truck, so Rebecca saves him with his cat leaper. But it turns out, of course, that that boy was not grateful. Mostly because apparently that boy is part of the Imperial Army. So apparently Nero is actually recruiting children as well. Well, who knows of it all. Either way, they keep fighting. Even Pino helps by guiding that little robot that said hello to her before, showing that she has also trained. Well, sort of trained, but updated now. She actually can control her EMP slightly more. And finally, Goodwin rides in the Camelish and then breaks through it all. As Laguna explains that this planet this entire planet consists of people that have rejected Nero's empire. While it's still not exactly explained why they reject Nero's empire, there are some hints here on why Nero may not be that perfect empire, things as everything else. So, and as long as Oasis is here, they will never bow to Nero. As Shiki asks if Laguna also lost everything to Nero, he of course do not answer. Back on Nero planet of the temple, it actually turns out that Fabio is the only one of the Ocean 6 that has not joined Shura. Well, it makes sense. He seems to be the only one not liking Shura, and he's also the only old-timer of the group. And he is also the one who's trying to talk sense to Nero, saying that Shura is destroying your empire, everything will come crumbling down, and if you do not take action, then everything happens. But Nero just coldly says of it the same thing he said back then in his first appearance. He said, "The dice would never betray me, and he will do nothing." But here's the real cold thing of it all. It matters not if my son resorts to foolish tactics. It matters not if the empire falls. It nor if millions nor even billions die. The ultimate result will be the same. I will be victorious. That fate has already been determined and will remain unchanged as long as I possess the absolute power of empire dies. Nero, you are truly a very big idiot. But he's a fatalist to the extremist. But this seems to imply that his ether gear or something like that is the empire dies. But I think here we actually have gotten a slight clue on why some people reject Nero's rule. He's a fatalist. He follows the dice every single time. And he says that they have always been correct. But that probably means that if he has rolled something and says you have to die, then he kills you. And then he just says it is destiny. It is meant to happen. Nero do not seem to be the type of guy that actually cares about prosperity or anything else. No, he cares about destiny. He follows destiny's dice. And if it does what happened, then he does what happens. More of it all, though, that everything seems to be played in Nero's unfavor, the fact what Shura is doing and the steady turmoil, but he is still confident. Granted, he's not smug about it, but he's extremely confident in his extremely fatalist way that nothing wrong will happen. Everything will go exactly as it will. The bigger thing is, though, if the empire falls, if billions die, and if his son resorts to foolish tactics, he still says that he will be the winner. Pardon me, but how will he be the winner if his empire that he spent years in a single lifetime building up will crumble? How will he win if billions die? How is it that he will be the winner? I cannot understand destiny. Granted, I believe in destiny because I believe that destiny will never favor me. So I believe, I'm not trying to trash talk Nero's beliefs in his fatalism, but I do believe that all of this is to prove Nero wrong, because I believe our friends here will be that point. But this is the first sign of his real villainous actions. His fatalism will be the end of every single people. And I have a feeling like that Shiki and his friends will somehow break the Empire Dice's vision that has been given to Nero. And only then will he take action. Maybe Nero will be the final boss of the Aoi Cosmos. And then Siggy will, of course, take over everything else. Still feels like this will end in a tragedy. I do not like that, nor do I want that, but it seems to be the case. And Fabio, well, he seems to be the only rational member of the Ocean 6, even though he does seem to be loyal to Nero. So the bigger question is, though, how is he going to be striking this? Well, who knows? But we then even have a chapter 138, and this is 138. First of all, Rebecca in an extremely sexy catsuit, and even a new gun of it all. Leotard suit. The fighting keeps as reinforcements from the sky appears, and they, well, it's kind of strange. It looks like aircrafts that that humans actually are part of, almost like they're flying in the air, like fish. I mean, flying fish or something like that, or birds. Together with Laguna, he washed them away, although the Pompadour guy is just calling that the flushing down the toilet. And then ship comes in, and we actually, for the first time, see Goodwin's power. The ship is massive, so Goodwin jumps up to it and actually manages to throw it. Well, we still don't know exactly how powerful Goodwin is. He seems at least to have some decent strength in himself. And even his Pompadour guy is calling him the biggest, baddest. He's even impressed by Rebecca and the fighting of it all. Gotta say, I really love Goldwyn's fanboying. So far, Goodwin is seen to be a very likable and good character. But then they get a report that someone else is going to report on the next direction. But of course, the Eden Zero, the rest, the Free Star Shrine Maidens, together with Klein and Chris, have mopped them up. And I gotta say, which seems to be the most of them who goes through fashion changes. And now she's wielding a very gauzy dress, which shows her legs. That backside. Ah, man. But then the biggest thing is that Goodwin, as soon as Hermito with her adorable smugness, I gotta say, I like when Hermito is showing the adorable smugness. When she reveals that they are Eden Zero, it actually turns out that Goodwin knows that they took down Draken, showing that the information that Eden Zero took down Draken hasn't been publicly known. Although Justice knows that, and likely a lot of the Interstellar as well, it begs the question on how did Oasis find that out? Well, it does seem to imply that Goodwin has connections, and he can find that out. That is kind of amazing. As the Rebel Alliance wins of it all, the bratty kid on the soldier side tries to fight, but of course fails. As they all get locked up, it turns out the Oasis lost 16 guys in the fight, while the Imperial also lost one. However, most of all, Goodwin do not judge the Imperials, even though he locks them up, because he says that there is no good or bad guy in war. And then he even puts in some. I mean, that is true. In war, there is really in war there really aren't that much good or bad. Granted, there's a difference between homicidalness and determination. I mean, granted, we have in real life war, there have been some pretty nasty things that I have heard. And the biggest thing is that that's war. Should we judge that country just because of that? Who knows? But the thing is that Goodwin is saying that he does not judge the Imperial soldiers. He hates the Empire. We do not know why, but it does. But since everyone is losing, since everyone in Sandra has lost their freedom because of Nero, and the fact that he brings up that they're gonna get heavy taxes, oppression, and censorship, that implies that everything that Nero has been doing in his fatalism has been stealing things that Goodwin called freedom. That implies that Goodwin is a kind of guy that is actually looking for freedom and not just plundering and things like that. He hates the Empire, but he does not hate them. And he says that once we take down the Empire, why don't we have a drink and many things more. This once again shows that he's a big cat with a big heart and a reasonable guy. I hope he survives this arc, but something tells me he is not. So yeah, he does hate the Empire, but he is not a bad guy. He is definitely a reasonable guy. But he has blind hate towards the Empire because he feels like Nero has actually taken a lot. It really begs the question on what did Nero do to do all this? Was the Aoi Cosmos free until he did it? Who knows? But then we get to the end of the chapter of Nero 66, where the rest of the oceans of the young ones, including Shura, who once again is swallowed by beautiful ladies, all hang out in a pool, while they also mock Fabium for not joining them all. These oceans are very arrogant, because it actually turns out that Fabium belongs to the old oceans, possibly implying that, again, Fabian is a veteran soldier of the Nero Empire, and these oceans are not the Thirst Oceans. What happened to the old ones? Wouldn't surprise me if the young ones somehow kill them, because something tells me the Nero Empire goes on a survival of the fittest like theme, especially if power is thing else. The only one who is actually keeping a little head is that guy with the steel thing of it all. But Shura is a little bit impatient of the fact that he knows that Siggy is going to be here, even though it's still 3 days until it happens. But then the chapter ends in a very, very strange manner. Something I didn't exactly expect to happen right now. And what is that? Well, you all recall when Justice was ordered to deal with the Shura and everything else. Holy said that they will send Jaguar and Eraser to help him. Well, it actually turns out that Eraser's fleet is currently attacking Nero 66. Right now? Huh. I expected a battle immediate. Everyone into one place. Chaos. Not separately. It seems like someone has writing here. Sean Grambell, it's you again. Do I think the Shura... Because now I can answer this question. Do I think the Shura versus Razor will happen so that it will be great? To be honest, no. No, I do not. I do not like Eraser, nor do I like Shura. Why? Because they are both very similar. They both have arrogant faces on their faces. Granted, I'm a guy who also can be arrogant, but it's still, I don't really like that. Especially of Eraser saying that it's your time is up, you spoiled little prince, while Shura, of course, just says this is a good warm-up. So the bigger thing is that another reason why I don't really like this thing is that this seems to be a typical Worf effect moment. You know, we have heard of the power of the oceans and Shura. We don't know anything about Eraser. Granted, his alias is Eraser. He probably has a powerful ether gear. But it wouldn't surprise me if the oceans just mops the floor with Eraser's fleet just like that. Because, well, that will hype up how dangerous they are, which will make their future defeat all the more unacceptable in people's eyes. And I despise that. They are the villains. They are supposed to be defeated. But I do not think that Eraser is a good guy either. He seems to have a very smug look on his face. So the bigger question is that, will this be seen? Will I like this? I don't really know. To me, neither the Interstellar nor Shura is a good guy, and I do not really like bad guy versus bad guy, because then I don't really know how to root for. And I do not want to root for Shura. But I have a feeling like Shura and the team is not going to be defeated here. Nah. But it will be kind of lame for Eraser also to defeat, because we know nothing about him. Are we supposed to learn everything about him in this battle? And then he dies? You know, to be honest, the first Interstellar Orasian says I thought was gonna die is actually Justice. If you think about it, if this Aoi Cosmos saga really want to end in a tragic sense, wouldn't it make sense if LC and Justice actually dies this saga? Yes, I know, a lot of you will be feeling that is very unacceptable, but unless they go through some changes of it all, I feel like the biggest turmoil of everything else, it will be if Justice and Elsie dies this arc. It will be a very heavy blow on our heroes, and the Interstellar will lose very likely one of their mightiest warriors. So now we're gonna lose Eraser, everything else like that? Feels like too big. Granted, the Orasian says Interstellar are said to be in a league of their own, so I believe the only one who actually can put a fight on Eraser should be Shura. But will we see it? I have no idea. I just want to learn what Eraser's ether gear is, and the rest I do not know. There has been some implications. One of them is called White Flash. Is that implying that Eraserhead has some kind of white-like power? Who knows? But very likely we're gonna see the powerful ether gears of the Ocean 6 if all this happens. But yeah, this is basically these chapters. A lot of things happened. I am excited, even though I do not like the fact that Eraser and Shura are gonna score off right now. I do like the fact that so many things are happening. We see more of Nero's true evil. We see the arrogance of the other things. Goodwin is a very awesome character. The Rebel Alliance and Shiki seems to share many similarities, so I hope they join forces. And yeah, so in the end, this was 2 chapters, but they were golden. They were amazing. I liked them. Top score for me all around. Still though, what awaits us next step? Again, this saga is very unpredictable, because in the end, I still think we are going to get tragedy. We have too many battle people on the same front. Shiki and the Oasis, the good guys. Elsie, the wild card. The Interstellar, the other wild card, which is very likely also not good. We have Shura, the evil forces. Neros, who is on the sideline. And of course, the big bad Siggy. All of that is one pile, and nothing is happening exactly the same time, you know. Whatever happens, this battle is not gonna be good. It's gonna be tragic. Because I have a feeling like Siggy will swoop in right at the end of everything. But you give me your thoughts if you have any.